Hello, robotics and engineering students. Quick video today, beginning of the week. Happy Monday to you, giving you some options for things to work on for the week. As you remember from last week, we worked on a Arduino enclosure, a 3D printed Arduino enclosure. Fortunate for me, I actually have a 3D printer at home and created that Arduino enclosure. Not too easy to see here because it's black, but what are you going to do? Here's an Arduino, and we can see that it actually sits in here on the standoffs really well. The only issue I see here is that my 3D printer isn't very good, and so the quality of the 3D print is, compared to what we have normally in our classroom, is not that good. See if you can still, if you haven't yet, try and recreate it. And then we can print some of these certainly when we get back to school, because I think it'll be a nice addition to stuff that you have in the classroom. Getting back to Fusion 360, we're going to take a look today at setting up an assembly, as well as looking at joints and creating motion within your part. Here's a simple sort of, we could call it a machine. It doesn't really do anything. This yellow spinner, this is the spinner here. Rotates. It's got a little pin on it that holds this rod, and this rod is attached to another pin joint here, or another pin that can move up and down within this slot here in a sliding motion. I actually animate it by clicking on this joint, which I've created, and if I turn it, you can see we have that motion. To get these things to join, we need to come to the Assemble drop-down menu here and use a joint tool. This allows us to add a number of different kinds of joints between two components. And that's important that we make all of our different bodies into separate components. So here I have the spinner, a rod, the base, and the pin. And you can see all those different things. So they need to be separate components in order for us to join them. If we zoom in, you can kind of see where these joints are. Maybe it's more important to see here, this joint between the rod and the little pin that's sticking off this spinner. Let's hide it again so you can see it. It's actually kind of put that in the middle of this piece that's sticking up and in the middle of the hole or the cylinder of the rod. The kind of action around that joint happens there. And for that joint, we call it a revolute joint. So here is the joint that I already created. I've selected the middle of this sort of little part that sticks up and the middle of the interior cylinder of the rod here. If I switch over to the motion section of this flyout menu, I can choose from the types of motion that it'll allow me. The first one's rigid. You can't do, it's rigid. It doesn't actually move. But here's the revolute that we're going to use, and that allows this part to revolve around basically the center point of the other part. And then here's this slider, and that's what we use to allow that pin to move up and down that slot. We can just check the animation here by asking it to animate. You can see it move. We could change the axis it animates around if we wanted to, but obviously that doesn't make sense for us, so we'll keep it on the Z. So that's how I began to set the different joints between the different parts. And you'll have to play around with that and see how you can get things to fit. So we can actually use what's called a motion study to get a continual motion of this object to see how it actually would operate. Now if we come to the Assembly tab, down to Motion Study, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select the spinner joint, that revolute joint. And over here on the kind of hovering over that red line here, just come over to this side of it and click, and it's telling me it's positioned at negative 345.9 degrees. I'm just going to click in again and type plus 360 degrees. And then I'll just click here in this face. And I'll use the continuous motion. Well, this is a continually move, or repeat, excuse me. And we'll hit play. And here you can see the motion happening. And then you can keep this going and check to make sure everything's working correctly in your project. So see if you can actually make a simple project like this. There's 4 components to this project. Feel free to copy this. The sizes are irrelevant, so kind of make up your own sizes, or make a project of your own that you want to work with completely different from this. That's fine with me. Just want you to work on something that's of interest to you. And see if you can get the motion and joints to, see if you can assemble it with joints as separate components, and see if you can get motion to work between those joints. If you have any questions, you can feel free to talk to me or Lulu. She's good at answering questions. Or you can find us on Discord. That's probably the quickest way because I'm on there all day long rather than just emailing me. Talk to you later. Bye.